Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's going on, man?
Oh, I'm just, I was thinking about getting some insurance and for the business and a whole lot of other stuff. And I found that it's a maze, man. Literally.
Depends on what kind of insurance you're looking for, too.
I'm never going to get out of this maze. If there was only a company that could help me do that, I feel like my life would be a lot better. And once again, isn't it amazing how my problems, our problems, seem to coincide with who we have with us? Now, before we get too far into that, today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io. We can help you build your software development team quickly and affordably. Also, make sure you check out our talking heads on the Startup Hustle YouTube channel. So with us today, we have David Embry, who's the CEO of Milo. Now, I like it when you're interactive, so go to choosemilo.com and learn all about what they do while we talk to Dave. David, what's up?
Not much. Thanks for having me in today.
Really appreciate you coming by. I just happen to have this problem of being caught in this insurance maze. Is that something you can help me with?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that if you're a small business owner, right, there are a lot of things you want to do. And the least of them is insurance, right? At best, insurance is the worst investment you'll ever make. You spend all this money over time with the best outcome being, I don't have to use the thing I bought. And so you, as a small business owner, you've got to figure out, what do I want? What do I need? If you go to other places online, they'll say, what insurance do you want? And guess what the answer is? The same answer you have. I don't know, right? So how can we take what we do and the maze that is the insurance space and make it easy for a small business owner to understand what they want or what they need, which carrier to get it from, and bind it quickly.
I just went through a round of raise some capital, and they send you you have to have all these proper insurances, and it's just a cluster to even understand what it is they're asking for and all this different crap, and it's definitely not a lot of fun.
Yeah, when we started the business, right, the problem that we were trying to solve is, for small businesses, right, the downside is you get it wrong, and it can put you out of business, or you can't raise capital. The hard part about what we do is the relatively small transactions, right? So when somebody comes to you, you have to effectively be able to get the information that you have about your business, take it in, make a recommendation in terms of what coverages you need, and then, and only then, shop the different carriers to make sure that the risk that you present meets their criteria, because carriers are also our clients, and that they do it at a reasonable price.
I want to talk a little bit about you guys both mentioned not being able to raise capital due to different and not having different kinds of coverage. And I'll give a little background, because I think a lot of people that haven't done this before don't know why that exists. So for example, a few years ago, I bought an office building, and I was required to have an insurance policy on myself in case I died.
Key man insurance, right?
Yep, they wanted someone to pay for it, and there's a whole lot of different things. And Matt, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on what you needed to have or show for Sackify or different stuff, and why that actually exists.
I honestly don't even understand what all of them were, but some of them were things like automotive. If one of my employees is going to meet somebody or whatever and gets in a car wreck or whatever, that has to be insured. Things around cyber insurance now are big.
Yep.
Different digital type stuff.
I'm sorry. The issue really is, if you're going to invest in a startup business, what's one of the biggest risks that you have as an investor?
Well, there's a lot of them, but
data privacy, confidentiality.
Well,
what is one of the biggest risks that you can't control, or the people that you're investing can't control?
Getting sued and getting cleaned out.
Yeah, stuff that happens that you can't predict, right? Yeah. So if I'm investing in a business, or somebody's invested in my business or your business, the thing that you can do to protect yourself is make sure they're properly insured, right? So I'm running my business. To your point, one of my employees is driving their auto for my purpose, and they hit somebody, right? That can put you out of business, but you can insure for it.
Yep.
One of the biggest risks that your investors has is when you bought your building, right? What if something happens to you, right? And you're the person that's managing it, and you're the person that signed the deal, even though it's in your company's name. They want to make sure that they offset as much of that risk as possible, and they do that by putting a life insurance policy on you.
And with that, I signed a thing that out of that policy, it would have paid.
They're the beneficiary.
It would have paid off the building. My wife would have then owned the building, and the remainder of the cash.
Right.
But yeah, and these are just like weird little things that I think a lot of people don't consider. Now, I think it was interesting the way you mentioned it, like. Okay, no one likes buying insurance. I mean, I don't think
confusing.
Yeah, well, and then also it's like you're kind of like, why?
I feel like you're throwing money away too.
But at the same time, well, and I mean, I think that's fair to say that you can feel that way. But at the same time, like, man, there's a whole gamut of stuff that you can get into that can shut you down. And I don't think, like, I like the way what did you say in the very beginning? It's like the best, worst investment.
The worst investment you can ever make, right? You spend all of this money buying or paying for insurance, right? And the best thing that can happen is you never have to use it.
Yeah.
Right? The worst thing that can happen is you don't have it when you need it, right? So,
Right.
And as Americans, right, we're not very good with delayed gratification. Right? I had a guy that I used to work for one time that said, if you want to prove that concept, look at mini bars in hotels. Right, you can pay $5 for a Snickers in your hotel room, or you can walk down the hall, right, 100 feet to the place and pay $1.25. Most people pay $5, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of the same idea.
I'm kind of in that boat.
I have a funny story about mini bars for another day.
About what?
Mini bars.
About mini bars.
Yeah.
We're straying far from insurance.
Well, and the conversational nature of the podcast sometimes leads us in that direction. I'm highly intrigued. Hang on, let me make notes. Mini bar story. Is this something we can't share on air?
Oh, we could, but it's not about insurance. I should have had an insurance policy on my mini bar bill.
I was going to say, can I buy insurance on the mini bar? Because
maybe if you had a whole bunch of people that you're putting up in a hotel room, so
maybe
it'd be cheaper just not to take the stuff out of the mini bar.
So with your company, you guys have made a lot of progress in a 4 or 5 year window that you've been around and raised $28 million in investment. So
Sure.
No small thing there, grown over 100 employees. Like, let's get into the backstory. Like, how'd you get into this? Like, where was Milo?
Yeah, sure. Great.
How was Milo born?
So Milo was born actually in a conversation that I had with the senior Lockton guy, right? That technology was happening. It happens everywhere. It hadn't happened in the insurance space because insurance is really hard and difficult, and insurance carriers don't necessarily, want people to have as much transparency as as people probably want. But if you think about other industries like, like travel or even buying a home, or you can do mortgages, etc. All of it's online. Insurance has really been a lag. And my perspective, as I was having this conversation, was insurance is going to happen to Lockton anyway, right? Because it was a Lockton person I was talking to.
And let's see, can we, for our listeners' sake, can we give just like 10 seconds of background on Lockton and like what they do?
Sure. Lockton is the largest independently held insurance brokerage in the world. Based in Kansas, headquartered in Kansas City, but in almost every major U.S. city. Big international presence, $1.7 billion in revenue. Been in business 53 years. If you don't know Lockton, or if you have a bigger company that needs property and casualty, health benefits, or retirement, Lockton does that nationally for mid-sized and large companies really, really well, and has done that for a long time. And it's an awesome place.
Yeah, and they've been around in Kansas City for quite a while.
They were founded in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So, and then they have grown. It's a huge success story, right?
Mhm.
Like I said, largest privately held insurance brokerage in the world. And my thesis when we started this business, or at least the conversation which evolved into a thesis, was that Lockton had relationships with carriers. Lockton had distribution. Technology was going to happen in the insurance space, just like it has everywhere else. And that Lockton had the ability to use their knowledge, dollars, relationships to build a business that didn't compete with what they did, but would ultimately help their core business, right? They didn't do small business. They didn't do individual stuff on a non-high net worth basis. And so by taking this investment in technology and using it to optimize and do things that made it easier to do those transactions, Lockton could build a brand new business, right? And
well, I think this is a key thing that happens in every industry, right? Like when you're dealing with large enterprises, it's big tickets and it's a different kind of sale. But when you're dealing with small and medium-sized businesses, it's much smaller transaction sizes, much higher volume. You need technology. It's a lot like StackFi. Our customers, on average, don't pay us a lot of money, but we have a lot of them. Where a lot of our competitors only deal with the Fortune 5000. They're big checks. And you see this in a lot of industries, right? You got people that optimize for SMB, and you got people that optimize for the enterprise.
No, that's exactly right. And you know, Lockton had the foresight, and they had a business called Lockton Affinity that was doing that in a very, somewhat limited fashion. And the idea was that we could use technology to automate and make the ability to provide a Lockton-like experience to small businesses or individuals a reality.
And is that, I mean, when you say Lockton-like experience, is that an intuitive process that through however it is that you're inputting your needs and whatever, it gives you options that are narrowed down that are specific to what you might need or want? Because I think when it comes to insurance, people are like, how much do I need?
Don't know what I want.
What do I need? What is out there? Like, how much does this cost? And all those different things. And that could be pretty confusing and intimidating if you don't have something to guide you through. Is that?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. We started off with Lockton's history, right? So when we first came out, the whole idea was people like you buy things like this, right? We've evolved that to here's an actual recommendation in terms of the coverage that you need.
Right.
Because that's the first question that we have to answer. If somebody comes in, we have to say, is this you, right? And then if all we're doing is automating an insurance policy or an insurance application, which is 14 pages of information you have to fill out, that's not a very good experience. So we want to take information from partners, from the public domain, things that we already have, let the potential client just say, yeah, that's me, that's who I am, that's what I do. And then from that, we make a recommendation, right? Because that's what we're paid to do. We're an insurance broker, right? Advisor. So we make a recommendation in terms of what coverage you need, right? Because that's what you just said. When you come in, the first thing you want to know is, what do I need? And you don't know, right? You need if you're a small business, you need a BOP, you need general liability, you need professional liability, you need cyber. Do you need commercial auto? People don't know, right? So the first thing that we do is say, here's the coverages that you need based on what we know about you, and you verified that this was your company and the things that you have. Here are the coverages that you need.
I think one of the things I think you downplayed the importance of filling out the 14-page document, though, because for me, even that is a huge value. Like, because I don't want to fill out your 14-page document. I don't think anybody does.
Right. I don't even want to talk about the 14-page document, let alone fill it out.
I'm in that same.
That's why I skipped it. He didn't want to talk about it.
Right,
so.
right. But he's got a good point, because with any business, especially when you have a startup, you're getting something going, anything that you're doing, there's just this massive checklist of these one-offs that become so distracting and so consuming compared to what you should be doing, which is actually building the business. But at the same time, you have to build a protective shield around the business. That's an important thing too. But when you're a 1 or 2 man show and you're a startup, man, that's tough. So
it is
I
very
think
tough.
Anything that speeds you through that process and helps you make anything informed, and this is insurance or anything. Like, there are just so many questions that I think you were mentioning before we hit record, reading $1 Million Bedroom and finding it entertaining at the maze and the labyrinth that I was describing of all the crap you got to set up. And it's if you don't have experience until you do, but that doesn't help you that first time through. So.
And there are lots of partners. We have partners like LegalZoom, et cetera, that have ecosystems for small businesses, right? So if somebody comes in and you start a small business, as you said in your book, right, you need to set an LLC up to protect you. You need to set your own bank account up. You need insurance, right? And all of those things can be relatively simple transactions. You just have to know where to go. First, you have to know you need it. Second, you have to know where to go. And that's really part of the problem that we're trying to solve for people. And right? If somebody comes to us, we want them to, and the insurance companies are coming along too, right? Give us as little information as they need to so that we can understand who they are and what they do, so that we can make a recommendation in terms of coverage, right?
So does Milo source a bunch of different insurance providers?
Yeah, sure.
So is that basically what it's doing? It's just like, like I said, how many different insurance carriers are there? There's a lot, like aren't there?
Thousands probably.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, how the hell do we narrow that down?
Right. So
Is that something you wanted to talk about, Matt?
Not
1,000
really.
different insurance
No.
companies. Can you name all of them?
No.
I don't know.
Milo.com.
There-
Is that where I go?
It's actually
ChooseMilo.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
choosemilo.com. Just go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Sony owned Milo.com, right? Because
Ain't nobody got time for this.
Matt, your excitement for insurance as a whole is overwhelming in the studio right now.
Yeah.
And for those of you that really want to capture the essence of Watson's insurance excitement, you can look at Matt directly on the Startup Hustle YouTube channel. By the way, if you hear a thud, that's me throwing something at Matt to get him to wake up.
But that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to think about insurance,
No.
right? And so if you think about what Lockton did, like they make recommendations in terms of coverage, right? And that's what people come to them for. And they have relationships with insurance carriers. And we've whittled down the world, right, to different carriers that meet certain criteria for us, that have appetite for risk that's presented by these small businesses and individuals. And you've got different carriers, obviously, for the small commercial business than you do for the individual, so your house and your car, than you do for your health care, than you do for life insurance. And we have access to all of them. We've integrated with all of them. And it's our job to make a recommendation in terms of what coverage you need. And then ultimately, which carrier should you go to at a reasonable price, and that's what you pay us to do.
Well, and I think that's the key is if you guys can, you guys go to all the different events through the year, you keep up with the industry, right? You know which carriers are good, they offer the right products, take good care of their clients, all that sort of stuff, right? And you can say, okay, these are the 2 or 3, narrow it down. To me, I'm the kind of guy that I would rather go to Trader Joe's and there's one kind of mayonnaise to buy than to go to some grocery store where there's 23 and I have to pick. And I'm not an expert and I don't know which of the 23 anyways. Serve me up. Tell me which one's good.
If you're an expert on mayonnaise, will you please comment anywhere?
Yeah,
on
come
this
at us.
episode? We would love to help Matt with this problem. Because do you actually go to Trader Joe's?
Yeah,
You do?
I like Trader Joe's.
Do you actually go grocery shopping?
I usually use Instacart, but
That's my
I do
point.
go to
That's what I
Trader
thought.
Joe's sometimes.
That's what I thought.
But my point is being able to serve up to the clients like, hey, there's 1,000 people that sell this E&O insurance or whatever, but these are the 2 carriers that are really good.
Yeah, that's what you pay. I mean, that's exactly what we do. We make a recommendation to you in terms of here's the coverage you need and here's the care you need. Now, if you have an issue with that care because maybe they did something to you in the past, we can go to another one, but you're paying us for that recommendation. And that's what Lockton has always done for really large businesses, and that's what we're using technology in our call center to do for small businesses and individuals.
I want to talk about that for a second. So I want to rewind earlier in the time frame. So now we've established what you guys do now, and 28 million in funding later, and all this stuff. But let's go back early into Now we always joke about what people call a startup, because Uber was still a startup before they went public, and we've determined that if your business name has become a verb, you are no longer a startup.
WeWork is now a start down.
Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, I don't want to get into that. I know a couple of people that work there. They might not appreciate my comments.
They might have got laid off this week.
Maybe. I don't know if that's true either. So let's go back early. So you talk about all the technology and all the different stuff you've built. And when I think about thousands of insurance carriers, an intuitive process that's got to ask different questions based on different stuff, link up to different things, do a lot of this, I think, oh wow, that's a maze. It's a different maze. So what were some of the early challenges? Like, you've clearly built a big company. You're on the rise. You're one of Kansas City's most funded companies, and congrats on that, by
Thank
the
you.
way. But let's go back to the early shit show and take our listeners through that, because what's important to remember is every success story, the baby's always ugly in the beginning. I say that a lot.
Baby's still ugly.
Yeah. Well, right.
Looks
right.
like me.
Yeah, and that's the
See, I've got the good genes.
I
and
just pictured that, and I don't. Thanks.
I must have good genes because my baby's not ugly.
Which baby are you talking about here? Anyway, I think that baby don't look like me is also a decent response on some regards. So there's actually a song about that. You should look it up. That's my mixtape answer going forward, by the way.
Okay.
When we play. But let's get back into that, because one of the things that our listeners often tell me is they enjoy hearing from people like you about all the challenges and struggles they went through, because it makes them feel and understand, hey man, I'm not failing. This is just part of the process.
Yeah, sure. But just by background, I was at J.P. Morgan for the better part of 20 years. We had a retirement business, that was going through some changes. We were combining it with a couple other retirement businesses, now called Empower Retirement, big retirement business. And as that was happening, they had some opportunities for me that they wanted us to go outside the U.S. for. I was looking for some stuff to do. I did something with another insurance play, and I got to know the Lockton guys. And after we had that initial, idea meeting, the feedback was put a proposal together and we'll pitch it to the Lockton board, and we'll see what happens, right? And so we did. And it was a general idea, right? We said we want to use technology to change the way that people buy insurance. That was the main thesis, right? We had three sort of points. One was we could leverage Lockton for their insurance relationships. We could leverage Lockton for distribution. And we could generally outsource the technology and white label the interaction the interface that we built for our prospective clients. So on those 3 points for our thesis, we were right on distribution, we were right on insurance relationships, we were completely wrong on having to own the technology piece. Our first iteration of this didn't go so well, right? We were actually called Lockton Marketplace, and after that we did our first, I guess what in your vernacular, for startup vernacular, you'd call pivot, right? We hired 12 engineers, right, that one of our advisory board members introduced us to, and he'd been saying all along, and he was right, we were wrong. And we hired 12 engineers and said, we need to own this technology, because if we don't get that right, it's all wrong. Number 2, we were called Lockton Marketplace. And so for those people online, you can see my shirt that says Milo.
And go to ChooseMilo.
ChooseMilo.com, that's right. And so we learned the second thing, that is, if it doesn't fit on a shirt or a golf ball, right, your name is too long.
I actually talked about that in my book too. I said I used if it won't fit in a Twitter handle.
Right, your name is too long.
It might be too long. Yeah.
And so we rebranded, used a local company, and this is all with Lockton support. And this whole time, we were incubating who we were, so that we could pay people and have a place for people to sit inside a Lockton company, a Lockton series here in Kansas City. And then we said, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what we've learned. We want to do personal lines and commercial lines, and we want to own those, right? And so we built those out. Over the course of a year, we actually wanted to prove we could sell, so we used somebody else's interfaces with carriers, and then we did, and we started scaling it and building it out, right? And then we go through this whole process of, it's really iterative, right? We have a perspective, we launch that, right? We learn something from it, we make changes, we do it again, we do more of the things that work and less of the things that don't. And we rinse, repeat. The same thing from a distribution standpoint, right? We thought we can't compete with Warren Buffett and Flo and Peyton Manning for Nationwide, and they spend literally hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion a year on advertising, right? So we can't go out and get these small businesses and do it from a broad brand perspective. But Lockton's got relationships, like I talked about LegalZoom, where we can go in and be an extension of who they are in their ecosystem for their client and be the insurance expert. And that was sort of our go-to-market strategy. We actually launched our business with them, and it's proven to be very successful. And then we're always looking for other companies who have a trusted advisory relationship, who interface with individuals or small businesses, who have information on those individuals or small businesses that we can get electronically, right? So we don't have to ask them any information on that 14-page questionnaire that they don't want to fill out, where we can make a recommendation in terms of coverage and do all of those things as electronic as possible. As much as we would like for 100% of our business to happen online, the fact of the matter is 99% of it still happens in the call center and in our wildest dreams, right? In 3 or 4 years, maybe 15 or 20% of it actually happens online. You can go to choosemilo.com. You can go out, get a recommendation in terms of coverage, get a recommendation in terms of care, and bind insurance right now. But the world, we don't believe, is really ready for that. And I think of it a lot like surfing a wave, right? You don't know when it's going to break, but it's going to. And if you're not surfing it when it does, you have no chance of getting there, right? And that's sort of the groundwork that we've laid in the insurance space to learn a lot, build a lot of things, do these integrations with carriers, which you can imagine is a big part of what we do, and take the information that we get from potential insureds, put it in our data warehouse, layer machine learning on top of it, so that ultimately the algorithm that we started with in terms of if this is you, this is what you need, will ultimately get smarter and better, and it will be making recommendations that are broader in nature and more detailed. And from our perspective, that helps our agents be better agents. That helps us be more consistent, and that's really what we're trying to build.
So, from the very beginning, did you think that these strategic partnerships would be your go-to-market strategy, or did you originally have a different?
We did, right? And when I talked about locked in having distribution, they did, and that's what we thought was really different, right? I called it alternative distribution versus buying leads, or doing some broad-based advertising where we made the phone ring.
Well, and so when you're trying to reach a big audience like that, it's hard to figure out a go-to-market strategy. Like you said, an ad in the Super Bowl is one way to do it, but
Very
can't afford it,
expensive,
right? And so at Stackify, we went the content marketing route. We do a lot of content marketing that helps us cast a wide net. We collect a lot of leads and businesses that way. Strategic partnerships is another great way to do it. But I think the key advantage you guys had is you had a investor / partner or whatever in Lockton that unlocked that, right? Because
That's right.
if you were just a random Joe off the street that was trying to do this without that relationship with Lockton, this would have been infinitely more difficult.
There's
right?
no question. That's true.
Like that strategic partnership with Lockton unlocked all their partners.
Yeah, there's no question. And Lockton, you talked about us raising $28 million. Lockton funded this thing for a few years before we did that, right? So, to their great credit, right, they got that insurance was going to, or technology was going to influence and change insurance.
There's something in that you just reminded me of that Sandy Kemper said when he was in last week. He said, I wish every founder the right to have the lowest valuation from the greatest investor possible.
That's right.
And I'd never heard anybody say that because it sounds kind of weird at first, honestly. But then you think about it, you're like having people that have a vested interest in what you're doing and want to open doors for you, want to shorten the path of all that, want to get you lined up with the people that matter is really more valuable.
It's priceless.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's the reason that we exist today, right? The foresight and the buy-in that Lockton had initially, and then when we raised capital, one of the challenges that we had was like a lot of people as you're raising capital, probably you guys too. Like what's your plan for exit, right? And Lockton owns us, right? And we don't really have like a specific plan to exit this business, right? We could build it and run it. In fact, if you talk to the folks, if you talk to David Lockton, he would tell you, we want to build it and run it. We think it's the future of insurance, and we don't know that we want to exit, right? So finding a strategic partner that had the time horizon that believed in what we did was probably the hardest part of raising capital. And Guggenheim was perfect. They own insurance companies, right? So their time horizon is really, really long.
Well, you're one of the original founders of this, right?
I started.
So, but if Lockton is a majority or one of the majority owners, does that sort of prevent you from getting an exit, though?
No, don't really discuss. I have an opportunity to exit. So
Okay,
it's just,
all right.
It just is an alternative opportunity to exit versus what a traditional.
Yeah.
Opportunity
At some
would
point in
look
time, you got to get them to buy you out, or
Dave, if
something.
you could just write your number on a piece of paper and slide that over to me, I'll let people know if we're accepting, if we're in on that. So we like to talk about failure as well. I think that you just described being part advisor and sales channel dependent on some regard. Now, we've both spent time in the past talking about how sometimes sales channels can be false in their promise. Like they look great.
Yeah.
And Matt, you have some
Oh,
stories
yeah.
around that, and it's easy as a business early to be like, oh wow, there's this whale, and it's not just swimming up to the boat; it looks like it's swimming in the boat. Wow, is this really this easy? What advice can you give to startup founders for recognizing when a sales channel is potentially valuable and when they might just be a huge time suck?
Yeah, no, it's one of the biggest things that that we learned. We probably have 30 channel partners, and they all matter, right?
Mhm.
But 5 of them drive 90% of our volume.
Well,
Right.
but getting lined up with them and set up for them can be really consuming of your resources, your time, and your attention. So if that's going to be what you're going to put all your energy into, and they don't care about you as much as you care about them, then
Yeah, no question. And so when we started, right, it was place a lot of little bets, right? And see which one, really starts to pay dividends, because we didn't know what success would look like. And in terms, I love your analogy to sort of a false positive around. I mean, it looks like it'd be an awesome partner, but it's not going to, right? And so over the last few years, right, we want to go deeper with fewer. And then we also have set up a mechanism to stand up channel partners very easily using technology that doesn't require a lot of our resources to do that. So we have a home for people that we want to invest in different places, and then we're going to go really deep and invest really deeply with fewer people where we have a high confidence level. And from our perspective, the right channel partner looks like this, right? They have a trusted advisory relationship with their constituency, right? They have the ability to hook up to us in an electronic way, right? We have the ability to co-market to their clients to take advantage of their trusted advisory relationship. And ideally, they sit at an inflection point where somebody needs to buy insurance, right? Whether or not they know it, they do. So I'm buying a house, I'm starting a business, I'm moving into my first location for a business, I've hired employees for the first time, right? If we can get in those inflection points and be a natural extension of the relationship that our channel partner already has with them, that's ideal. And then volume, right? 10,000, tens of thousands of opportunities moves the needle for us, right? And these are all things that we've learned. And the last and probably most important thing is executive buy-in, right? So if your channel partner doesn't have executive buy-in, meaning they will do things with their resources that they could put somewhere else, they won't get to the scale that their potential initially convinced you that they could.
And I want to simplify that a little bit. You're referring to the leadership of your potential sales channel partner buying into using you. Like, hey, we're going to focus effort. We're going to do something to push people towards this sales channel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Our biggest partners, the relationships are at the C-suite or senior VP suite. People that have the ability to make decisions around resources, right? Am I going to put resources on this or not?
And
Well,
go ahead.
so I had a lot of experience with this from my Vin Solutions days because it's got to be a win-win. So at Vin Solutions, we sold a software product to car dealers, and we had lots of people that wanted us to be a channel partner, wanted us to sell their shit, whatever it was, some widget, tool, thing.
Right.
And the problem was, it's like, if I have to pay my salespeople, I'd rather pay them to sell my shit than to sell your shit, right?
That's
It's
right.
got to be a win-win. But there were, things that worked really well for us were things that were integrations. Like we had an integration with Kelley Blue Book or something, right? So it's like that made our product better, so it made sense for us to sell that thing. So we had a vested interest in it.
That's right.
Right? Or it's got to be something that could make us a lot of revenue without a lot of effort, right? Like you got to find the right type of partnership that makes sense.
Or ideally, it's a good integration where once you set the integration up, it completes or help facilitates your either transaction as a channel partner or deepens the relationship that you have with your client, and it makes you some money, right?
Yep.
And if you put all those things together, that's why you get executive buy-in.
I have a couple comments about sales channels as well, because if you have 2 people in your company, you're not ready for them. You mentioned resources and stuff like that.
It takes a lot of work.
Well, you're going to find really quickly that, here's the thing is any company that's worth having as a sales channel partner is going to vet you on some level. And if you have 2 people at your company, they're going to just tell you, I don't think you can support
I
this.
love your idea.
I love your idea, but we could pump 10,000 things at you a day. So with that, like you might not be ready. So, it's something to keep on the horizon, but it's that classic chicken and egg issue. You're like, how do we get big enough without all these leads? But you have to be able to prepare for that. And I know that firsthand from when we were launching Gigabook and we only had 4 people and we pursued several sales channels, and that's love the product, love the idea, love you, but we could literally send you so much business. How are you going to handle that with a 5-person company?
This is another example of where having an organization like Locked In standing behind us really gave our potential clients the ability to believe that we could scale.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yep. And that was part of it too. And some of the things too is, sales channel partners also want to know that you're not going to go out of business, that you're well capitalized. And so, I learned some tough lessons with that. And Matt, you've shared some in the episodes in the past about how sometimes, those false positives, and we had one experience and, it sucked up 3 months of our bandwidth and then it didn't pan out.
Right.
And I learned a lot from that. So now one thing that we can all learn a lot from is playing Mixtape the Game with our friends and podcast guests. So
that's great.
Dave has a slightly terrified look on his face, but
I have no idea what this is.
Well, Mixtape the Game, and you are going to leave with your own copy of Mixtape the Game.
Sounds good.
So mixtapethegame.com. We play this with a lot of guests. I've pulled a card out of the Mixtape deck, people. I'm going to read a scenario. We're all going to name a song that we think fits our answer. We will vote. You may not vote for yourself. The winner gets to fire the money gun. Righteously quitting a job and throwing a cheeseburger at your shitty boss. And I'm going to go with Cheeseburger in Paradise because it seems fitting. I thought about going with Margaritaville because when I quit my job like that, that's also where I'm headed.
I guess I got to go with Take This Job and Shove It.
I like that one.
You took mine, so I'll go with...
Were you going with that?
I was going with Cheeseburger in Paradise, but I'll change it to Running with the Devil just because I like the song. So.
Man, I got a tough choice here because I'm going with Dave. I
don't know that song. Can you sing it for me?
Running with the Devil.
Van Halen.
Yeah, man.
All right, I'll go with that because I don't like voting for you anyway.
I know you don't. I never win, but I should. Would you like to fire our money gun?
Yeah, fire the money gun.
All right, so hang on. We're working on an all-time video compilation of this. So here you go. Fire it. You can fire it however you want. Some people actually just shoot Watson. It's up to you.
I'm covered in money. Yeah.
But they're singles.
But they're singles.
They're single hundreds.
We learned a lot about our guest about their reaction to them being singles.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to run into Kevin Lockett, and he's going to be like, dude, how many times have you told my money gun story on the podcast? And I'm going to say it all the time. Kevin, Kevin.
It's a legend,
do you know Kevin? Former Chiefs. He won. He fired the money gun. About 4 bills came out, and he goes, "They're only ones," and just put it back down. And at that point, I realized that I still haven't made it yet.
There's a whole nother level here.
Yeah, I was like, wow. That's. Here's another one, Matt. We need more money in the money gun. I think that's what we should really put our focus towards in 2020 is how we can get $27 more. Well, congratulations on winning Mixtape. That was great.
Thank you. I look forward to taking the Mixtape home.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, we have the app coming soon. Matt, you played the app recently, right?
I did when I was at the Full Scale office in Cebu.
I'm hoping to. We own part of Mixtape, so yeah, we're launching the app. The app's going to be fun. We're making it. We want to make it awesome.
We'll be back there shortly together, right? So
we will.
in December, so it'll be
Yeah.
great. We can play again, and
I'm planning on
I'm
it.
gonna beat you, and we can take the money gun.
Actually, my new machine learning algorithm has perfected the perfect answers.
Did you
for
figure out if
mixer.
we can take the money gun through customs?
Okay, I've gone through this before because people always ask about the money gun. Flying with any gun-shaped object on an airplane is very inadvisable.
You could probably check it though.
I just feel like I mean,
FedEx it over there.
I need if you have a local source of Supreme money guns in the Philippines, I'm open.
Get a
to
3D printer and
suggestions.
have them print one over there.
I just want to be going through the security
Sounds
line.
a lot more expensive
and
than
pull
the
this
$20
out.
I paid for that.
I want to pull this out of my laptop bag and be like, yeah, wow.
And then you go to jail.
So yeah, can
then I
buy
shoot
a
money at TSA.
Can I buy a policy on that?
On going to jail?
On co-founder stupidity. Do you guys cover that?
We don't, but I'm sure somebody probably would.
I
so.
feel like that actually is worth insurance. That's a problem we're solving, right? Or like co-founder qualification. I think I'm onto something, man. I like the light bulb just popped. Like we talk about all this machine learning and AI. So, hey, David, thank you for coming in.
Sure, thanks for having me. It was great.
There's nothing better.
Wait a
than,
second.
Yeah, what?
Can I get insurance for employee getting kidnapped
I'm sure you can get insurance.
in a
Probably.
foreign country?
I'm
Can
sure
we
you
not
can.
give motherfuckers ideas, please? Sorry. I mean,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get that insurance. You can get
Okay.
insurance for flying
We do
somebody
need that.
out if they had something
you
bad
can
happens
get
to
that.
them.
You can get that, I'm sure. My God. Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
Your contribution to every episode.
What you should
Startup
do
Yeah.
is buy
invaluable.
insurance on his life. So if
Yeah.
something happens to him while he's kidnapped, then
I've already got it. Kidding.
no, where he's the beneficiary.
I've been trying to get my wife to kill me for years. I'm like, you'd be way better
Yeah.
off if you just knock me off. So with that, on such a sunny note, once again, today's episode of Startup Hustle was brought to you by Fullscale.io. If you want to see the video of Dave firing a money gun, it'll be on the @Startup Hustle podcast Instagram at some point,
At
and
some
maybe
point.
even TikTok, as we finally figured out what that actually is.
Well, you'll have to tell me,
Yeah, just so you know.
just so I know.
Oh, are
yes.
you going to tell me to take it down?
Oh no.
Okay. When I send you your own money gun video, you'll be the one that posts it. That's
Right.
what we find is everyone's like, "Can I get-"
Better
they don't-
run it
they
by
don't-
the-
They don't care about yeah. So, well, every legal department knows that firing a money gun is the best thing anybody can do for their business. But anyway, with that, we like to end our episodes with what we call the Founders Freestyle. Sometimes we leave things unresolved. People want to go back and visit those points. Sometimes we want to give advice. Anything you might want to say to the startup world in general?
No, I think if I look back over the last few years, I mean, the biggest thing we had was somebody that believed in what we were trying to do, right? Because you start off with a concept, and then you learn a bunch, and you make more mistakes, and hopefully, then you want to, and hopefully, you make more good decisions than bad decisions. And it's just a journey. Right, and I feel like we're 20% of the way through ours, and most days it's fun, and every day it's hard, and if you don't love that, don't do it.
That goes well put. Master Watson.
Yeah, I think Milo is a great example where a joint venture / strategic partnership, strategic investor with a large corporate entity can work extremely well if done right. Milo's success, has a lot of its success because of the partnership with Lockton. And I think there's a lot of companies like Lockton. They could have built Milo, right? They do $1.7 billion a year in revenue or whatever you said. But they don't have the agility, the talent, the entrepreneurial, spirit. They lack all those things, right? And so the more that we can get big companies to partner with people like yourself and other entrepreneurs who are willing to move fast and take risk and be agile and do these things, the better. Every big company has things like this they'd like to do, and the more we could get them to partner with other people in the community to actually do them, the better.
There's actually a word for it. It's called intrapreneurship.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And I think that's what we did, right?
Yep.
Seen a lot more of that all over. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Black and Veatch locally is an example. Then we just work directly with their
These-
clean tech people and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And like
I think it's smart.
and some of the people that we've talked to that like Black and Veatch is working with, like, they had a huge leg up. Like,
Yep.
yeah, we're doing this thing. Black and Veatch loves it. Black and Veatch is going to help us put it in their projects, work with their clients, like all same sort of thing.
Just
That's
good,
right.
good top level partners. And,
Those-
and yeah.
Those things can really work really well when done right, and that's
Yeah.
a big way to help entrepreneurship and innovation, right? Is these types of partnerships.
So as we close, Dave, thank you for passing me that slip of paper. I'm going to have to turn down this offer. It's too low. I really want to pay you more. Now, I'm going to close out by saying something simple. Your business needs insurance, and if you're looking to get funded and do different stuff, one thing that's going to really send up a signal flare that you don't know what the hell you're doing is you buying that policy a day before you're asking for someone's money.
right.
I mean, it just kind of shows that you didn't have the foresight. You're like, oh, I need insurance. Like, that's a pretty basic pillar of starting a business. And when we talk about insurance, like, it's not overwhelmingly expensive. I mean, especially for a business that has a couple people and barely any revenue or whatever. It depends what you do, obviously what you do, but it's not going to break your bank, and it's something you need to have in place because you're putting all your heart, your effort, your passion into what you do, and you don't want something stupid to tip that over. And it's not worth it for what you're, like I said, to need it. And, protect your own dream. Much like Dave said at the beginning, it's something that you hope you never have to use for a whole bunch of different reasons. But, I think that it's pretty cool. I like what you guys are doing. I like anything that speeds up that onboarding process. I'm a nut when it comes to onboarding. I'm like, don't make me. I love the part where anytime you can grab info and pre-populate something, thank you.
Right.
Just thank you. Like, please, people, build your own stuff to be like that. Don't make me fill out the same thing over and over again. So, well, once again, David, thank you for coming in. Congratulations on the mixtape crown. I would probably go back to the office and tell everybody
Gloat.
that you were. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
really, really like.
I'm
tell
not a
everybody-
big gloater, so
It's the highlight of your year.
I'll wait until they see it on the podcast.
There you go.
They
See
can
y'all.
be surprised.
Yeah, see y'all next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.